What's up, guys? You're listening to To Transcend, a podcast that inspires individuals to go beyond their limits. Our names are Kevin Tran
and Jimmy Tran. On this show, we sit down and converse with others and ourselves about the journey we're on and the lessons we've learned along the way.
Yo, what's up, guys? You are now listening to episode 3 of To Transcend. My name is Kevin, one of the co-hosts, and in this episode, we discuss about what it's like growing up as an Asian American, the kind of pressure we had to deal with from our parents in order to be successful. We just felt like it's important to talk about our roots right now, just due to COVID and kind of the growth of racism towards Asians.
So, man, episode 3.
What's up? Yeah, already. Episode 3. Can you believe it's a new week? I'm just kidding. We're actually recording...
Pre-recording our schedules.
Yeah. Our schedules this month is a little...
out of whack.
Yeah, exactly. So, here we go. Episode 3. What did we talk about in episode 2?
Episode 2 was, I guess, what we're currently trying to do and, I guess our thought process behind all of that.
Yeah. That was a good one, I feel like.
That was a super good one.
Yeah, so can't wait for them to hear it. All right, so episode 3, I think we should talk about,
our culture, our identity.
Yeah, being Asian, because I feel like it has a lot to do with who we are today.
No, yeah, for sure.
Right? Especially with COVID going on.
Yeah, there's a lot of crazy shit going on.
There's been a lot of shit, yeah, like COVID, with the president calling it fucking... the Kung flu, the China virus. So Asians been getting a lot of hate lately.
No, for sure.
Which sucks, man.
Yeah.
So, and the thing about it, like, I feel like for us anyways, as Asians, we've always tried to fly under the radar, and as far as like standing up,
it's not what's known for an Asian person to really do.
Yeah. We always like kind of just keep our head down and try to go with it. So like, with that being said, and I mean, that kind of plays into, I guess, all the way back when our parents first came here. I feel like, during the Vietnam War and stuff.
So that clearly shaped who we are today.
Yeah.
Because that definitely had to rub off on us to some degree.
Yeah, because that's how we were raised.
Exactly.
Right, by our parents. And I think the whole reason behind that was, like, they just didn't want to be like treated wrongly, right? Like kind of like if you're just a fly on the wall and you don't do anything, no one's gonna like kill the fly, right?
Exactly.
But then if you're a fly and you're like flying all over the human or whoever's in the room, you're gonna annoy that person, right? And then they're gonna like act towards you.
Yeah.
Right.
But I feel like another thing with that is also like, I think Asian people were given kind of like that privilege to be a fly on the wall, because it's not to say like other minority races didn't want to just fly under the radar. They just almost couldn't because how they look. They would go out and be like, I'm just trying to mind my own business, man, but the way you're looking at me and my skin color, I can't just fly under the radar.
Yeah.
That's so true. I guess there's like
history.
2 sides to it as well, and the history involved with everything.
Yeah. So one is Asians flying under the radar just so we can stay out of
just trouble.
Yeah, stay out of trouble. And then 2, we've had the luxury of being able to do that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Being allowed to fly under the radar. But I think that made us a little soft in a sense.
No, yeah, for sure.
And that's how I feel about it, because I don't know, like it's just like in the back of my mind, like anytime I want to like speak up, I think twice about it. It's like, oh, do you really want to? Yeah, do you really want to stir the pot, right? And like, but with everything going on this year,
you feel more empowered, maybe.
Yeah, like I just felt like I had to finally say something, right? And like, dude, like I actually like the Black Lives Matter thing. I was like, man, this shit ain't right, And like, it hasn't been right for the longest time, It's just more relevant now.
Yeah.
And during our time anyways, because we weren't alive during like Martin Luther King and stuff, right? So like, I just felt like I had to say something, and I didn't care. Like at that point, I was like, man, I don't give a fuck what anybody like, thinks about it, I'm gonna say some shit because this shit ain't right.
Yeah.
You know?
You gotta let your, I guess, voice be heard.
Exactly.
Be known.
So then, like, that's why I said what I said on social media. I posted the things I posted, and then I also
attended
one of the marches, right? The protests, and like generally, like I just stay out of like the public's eye and stuff, but like. And I was like, man, fuck this, you know? And that's why I asked you guys. And I understand if you guys would have said no, but I don't know. It meant a lot that you guys came out with me.
Yeah.
You know, as my family, my wife, like you, my cousin, and my little brother, you know? And like, I don't know. That was a really like...
I think it was pretty empowering for all of us to go there together. I don't know, with something like... I mean, even us as a family, like, we don't really talk about that type of stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for real. But then like... Because it was just like always like I said, we just... we don't talk about it, you know, like we just kind of try to avoid it just because it's like not our problem, not directly our problem, right? But it is a problem, you know? And so that's when I was just like, had enough. So I think that was a big moment for me anyway. That's like a breakthrough moment. So yeah, that's been one of like the positive things of 2020. But I guess, you know, diving deeper into that, dude, like how do you feel being Asian has shaped you?
Being Asian, I mean, it's our identity, you know, so it's shaped everything up till now, from my behavior to, you know, the simple things like what we like to do, eat, how we speak. I'll say...
What's the most impactful thing do you feel like?
The most impactful thing?
Yeah.
So I guess, okay, I'll try to relate it to exactly being Asian. My first response was going to be being like in second generation Asian American or first gen, like whichever one it is.
Okay.
I was going to say like, you know, having that feeling where your parents came from, you know, like a very impoverished country to America, like it very empowers us. You know what I mean? Like I feel like...
In what way? I like where you're going with that, so keep going.
So I feel like, you know, it makes us want to do better in every aspects. Like we need to elevate our lives to make sure our parents, you know, going through the boat, trying to figure out like what they were going to do with the Vietnam War and, you know, however like the other Asian Americans came or Asians came to America. We as like second generation Americans felt like we needed to take it up a level.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of truth in that, you know, and I'm glad you brought that up because like just thinking about that, like it made me realize that our kids won't have that experience, right? Like they won't be like, oh, my parents came from a very, very poor situation. And
which is kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah, exactly. That's what like, I kind of like had this like moment, you know, and I was just like, fuck, like you're right, dude. Like, my kids aren't going to be like, oh, you know, my parents were so poor, you know, and like they did this, like sacrificed all this and came over here so that I can have a better life. So I need to take full advantage.
They're going to be pretty privileged, but that's not necessarily to say a bad thing, right? Like, I guess you want your kids to, you want to level up for your kids.
Yeah, I mean, that's just like what our parents, for us, I think we're super privileged compared to what our parents had to go through, you know? And so like, in a way, you're right. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it could be, right? I think it just all depends on your perspective, right? Like for us, we just trying to take full advantage of it, right? And trying to grow, like do everything we can.
Yeah.
To take full advantage of the situation, what we have access to. That's why I think there's just also comes a lot of pressure too, you know, because you're wanting to make your parents proud and like not necessarily like make what they went through, their experiences and stuff, and all the hard work,
like
hardship,
failure.
Yeah, like it was a waste of time, you know, and like but to an extent, it's bad because like if the parents feel that way and they're like, no, like
you have to,
like I did all this shit for you and put all that pressure and guilt trip like on their children, I just feel like, you know, to an extent that can fuck with your mind. Yeah, you know.
I feel like that can cause a lot of, you know, Asian Americans like our generation to do things they don't want to do, pursue things that they don't want to pursue, go into the field where it's the highest rate of return. So they're just trying to make their parents proud, but I guess it's difficult to find the line that you divide, like making my parents happy as an Asian American, and then trying to figure out my own happiness.
Yeah, and that's why I felt like I took the route I did, right? Went to school, graduated college, got my degree. So like that was kind of for my parents. That's why I told you like after that, I then started like
doing your own thing.
Yeah, working on trying to do my own thing, And I mean, I still get, trust me, by all means, like I was a pretty bad kid, Like I went against the grain a lot of times, And I was ungrateful at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think I was more of like a rebel more than anything. My little brother, on the other hand, he's like the golden child, basically, to an extent.
It's also because being the older child, you definitely broke those boundaries, so they don't seem as bad for the next one following.
Yeah, that's
true.
Know what I mean? That's true. Yeah, I see exactly what you're saying. But so yeah, I mean that's kind of what I did, and I was like, I feel like I was lucky and blessed to like be able to go through what my parents kind of put me through, with their expectations and stuff, and still be able to make it out happy.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there are kids out there, that like my parents want me to be a doctor, engineer, or lawyer, or whatever, but like they tried, but they just can't do it,
Yeah.
And then it makes them feel like a failure. But like that's not the end all be all, right? Like if you're not one of those three things, you can be something else. You can be successful in something else,
You can.
And like but our parents make it seem like that's it.
Yeah. And I think that struggle, or I guess the reason why they do that, I feel, is because, and this doesn't apply to just Asian Americans. It's just like, I guess most parents, or most parents, always like to compare their kid to, right? It's almost always like kind of like, you go talk to your next family friend, you can say, oh, my son's an engineer, like my son's a doctor. What's your son doing?
Yeah, no, that's true. That's another whole nother like.
That's another like aspect, perspective.
Yeah, but that's true. I didn't even wasn't even gonna bring that up. But you're right, and like, I guess talking about that, like, do you think our parents do that to gloat, in a way?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I feel like the only reason why that's done is to gloat.
Is it because the way Asian culture is? You think? Like, cause in Asian like they have like different
dynasties.
Yeah, like dynasty, like different tiers, right?
Like hierarchies, like social.
Exactly, hierarchies, right? And then supposedly, like, if your son's a doctor or whatever, like, you're like on like your family is then on a better level than another family.
I would probably say so, man. Like, I feel like with Asian people, right? Like I said, I feel like this isn't exclusive to Asian people, but with Asian people, like, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if I'm right on saying this, but I think in Asia, and just, maybe way back when, there was like actual classes, like there was like the bottom tier people, the higher tier.
But that's everywhere. Like, I don't think, like, to me, it's like, I feel like it's more so like the hierarchy of like, I don't know what the word is for it. Like, but if you're a doctor, like, then you're like a part of like this different class, like, or it's like whatever subclass.
Like a upper echelon.
Yeah,
almost.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like, that's how I feel like it's looked at, and that's why, and it ain't even about like the money, like they don't even talk about how much my son like makes or anything.
It's definitely about, you don't think it's about the money, man? It has to be. There's an aspect of it that has to be the money.
But like, to me, it's like for real, I swear, like, it's like more of the title. If you think about it, right? Like, they'll be like, my son's a doctor, or my son's a lawyer, right? Like, you go like, oh, my son's a businessman.
Okay.
Even though a businessman can make way more than a doctor or a lawyer.
Yeah, actually, you are right. Because I think about it, like, you could be a music producer making millions of dollars working with rappers and stuff.
Yeah, like, what your parents can say, oh, my son, nó làm nhạc cơ.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah, they're not gonna.
Yeah, they're not gonna go gloat about
there's
that.
the title.
Yeah, it's like that entitlement, right?
So it's weird, I guess now that I think about it, is it, even if you're, thinking from an Asian parent's perspective, even if your kid is a successful, whatever it is, that's not the typical engineer, doctor, or whatever the third one is.
Yeah.
Do you think they're embarrassed? Or even if they are, like, I don't know if they're embarrassed or not, but let's just say they are. Do you think they're embarrassed to say, oh, my son is successful, but he's a music producer, because the person that they're talking to will be like, your son's a music producer? Like, how did you raise him to become a music producer? And why not just live a normal life? Haven't be a doctor, raise a normal ass family.
Not necessarily normal, but like, where's the prestigiousness that comes with a music producer, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's how I feel. Like honestly, unless I can I'm a billionaire doing like whatever I want to do, I just feel like there's always that kind of thought. Like, they're not gonna go about it, But I don't know. It may be different now. I know it was more like this back then, but now, like, with the new generations and everything, and everyone being successful in a bunch of different ways, I think parents may be more open to it. But like, I was listening to an interview with like Ben Baller and his sister, and they were on. It was like K-Pod, right? It's called K-Pod, Korean. It's about
like K-pop and stuff like that.
Korean Americans.
Okay.
And so like they were in this interview, and then his sister was talking about how her daughters showed her this TikTok that. Basically, it was these Korean girls, and the one was recording while the other sister was getting lectured by her dad. And they were saying the dad was basically, like, the parents, I don't know if it's the dad or the mom, I forget, word for word, but he was just basically saying, like, you're worthless, like why don't you go, like, kill yourself or something, like, you're, like, basically nothing. And then, like, they created, like, a GoFundMe. And they're like, we don't want to live in this household anymore. We want to get out. And they like were raising money to like leave and go live on their own.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah,
I've not heard about this.
Yeah, and this I was like, and then that just like blows my mind, that it's still like that. And it's for I feel like that generation are the ones where the parents were young when they came over here. Like they were like the kids, and like. So
they were like 14, 15 when they came over.
Yeah, so then they grew up and then had kids. And so like, but I just like, I'm like, man, that's like, in this day and age, like you can't, like, just because they're not who you want them to be.
Doesn't mean they're not successful.
Yeah, it doesn't mean they are like worthless or whatever, And I just, that's one thing that I wish I could sit down and talk to all like Asian parents, bro. Like, and let them know this thing, because like, I feel like it's caused more hurt than it has like made people become better. Yeah, exactly. Like just comparing and shit like that, man. And that's like, I hate it, but I like my parents be saying that shit. Mainly my mom. My dad is like, he's
super chill.
He's like, he's more laid back, but I can tell like he does want a certain thing and he's more proud of a certain thing, but he's not gonna like tell me I'm useless because I wasn't what he wanted to be, right? He's just like, oh, you could have done better or whatever. Yeah. My mom, on the other hand, like she's a whole different story.
Just has different expectations.
Yeah, and so I just wish I could sit down and tell him, that this.
I mean, do you feel like you can't, or like, do you feel like you could sit down with him now and just kind of?
It's just like, I don't know. Like, to me, I think I still have to be. I'm not there yet, right? Like I gotta like. I still feel like I need to prove my success to them, right? Like I'm not there yet. Like I do want to make it to the point. I mean, again, that's probably one of the reasons why I was chasing money, right? Yeah. Like I want to like be so successful where my parents like they just can't. Yeah. They can't deny it, right? Yeah. And they want to be. I want them to be proud of it.
Which is also like when I hear that, that's crazy. Like like because we're outside looking in. Like you have 6-figure engineering job, 2 businesses. And you're still, I guess, looking or tapping into your creative side, and I guess it's just crazy. Like, maybe, I don't know what it is, right? But the fact that like you still feel like you aren't successful, because I feel like anyone here that they're like, dude, you're pretty goddamn successful. Like
I would, I guess to me, my definition of success, anyways, is like to live life on my own terms, right? And I'm not necessarily there yet, But I mean, you're right. Like, not to say, dude, I'm a lot better off than most people, and I don't take that for granted at all, you know. But as far as like, if I'm just like looking at where I'm at, and then like me versus me, I'm still trying to do more and get better, right? But you're right. Like, I do take a step back sometimes, and like, because I do forget to do that sometimes, right? You like take a step back and like appreciate where you are at.
Where you're
at.
at.
Yeah, because like, there's people out there that are like way less fortunate, you know, and like are like doing less. Like, but like I said, you shouldn't compare yourself to others. You know, it's just you versus who you were yesterday, you know, and like that's
how you grow.
Yeah, that's how you grow, and that's how you stay happy, you know, and that's pretty much it, you know.
Yeah.
Simple, but it's so hard to do.
Simple but elaborate.
Yes.
You know?
Exactly.
But man.
But yeah. I mean, so like, I guess diving deeper into that, just going back, bringing it back, you know, kind of went off on a tangent. But
I guess where did we leave off on?
it was about just Asian, like the expectations of our
Expectations,
parents, right?
yeah.
And then like the kind of level of like our parents comparing us to other families, you know, because then like you were talking about them wanting to gloat.
I'll say, man, I feel like I never had those expectations growing up, though.
Yeah, your parents were like I feel like they didn't like kind of like force that upon you, you know.
It's weird because like I feel like there's like almost maybe like different levels to like, if we were to look at like, you know, older Asian immigrants that came over, like there's like different levels to it almost. Like I feel like with them, like they knew about like, you know, people's kids become like engineers, doctors, but they were almost like very unaware of it, you know. Like I don't know, like it wasn't really in their face because not many other people.
But the way your parents, they're very they kept to themselves a lot, you know, and like they didn't like they weren't the ones
reserved.
that reserved, and they didn't like gloat or anything. Like they just do their thing, and then like that's pretty much it, you know.
Yeah.
And as long as you were happy, I think they were good.
Yeah.
And so like versus like my parents, and they're very like outspoken. They like to talk to people a lot and stuff like that. And so like it's good and bad, you know.
Yeah. Pros
like,
and cons to everything.
Yeah, and I just, oh man, I just hate, like, I'm just so glad I didn't go down that hole of like hating my parents for it, you know, like growing up now. Like I understand, because I understand where they came from and why they were that way, but like I just see other people growing up and resenting their parents so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like that's one thing that you shouldn't do. Like I'd rather you go do, like I was just lucky I love computers, you know, and that was something like computer engineer, like
worked out.
Yeah, and luckily that field was growing and the money was good, you know, or else I'd be fucked. Or else I would have probably went against what my parents wanted me to do.
Yeah.
And they would not have been happy, and then we might not have a good relationship, you know.
Yeah.
But thankfully that wasn't the case. So I've just been very fortunate, you know. And so for other people out there, you know, like I feel like just Asian kids growing up, I hate to say it, but like you need to do what makes you happy first, right? Because in order for you to like even make your parents happy, like why would you want to do that if it's something you really, really hate? I mean, I understand, you know, some people are like, dude, but it's your parents, you know. Like, I don't want to make them happy.
I don't want to disappoint them.
Yeah, I don't want to disappoint them. They've done everything for me, you know. But like, is it worth it? You know,
if it makes you unhappy.
Yeah, if it makes you unhappy, you know, like I guess, because people can say, yeah, it makes me happy because my parents are happy, right? So I guess, does that outweigh, like, can you do that without resenting your parents in the end?
And if it does, then all
Good
power
for you.
to you.
Yeah,
you know. But I feel like for some people, you know, you have to you should equally balance both.
Yeah.
You know, because but man, I feel like another point on that is, I think Asian kids or Asian, you know, like people our age, you should go do what makes you happy for sure, like 110%. But also, I feel like a lot of people our age, you know, and there is that language barrier, so I get that it's not perfect communication, but also maybe try to talk to your parents. You know, like I feel like a lot of us, we have like this, I don't know, like this idea in our head that, my parent is going to hate exactly what I do. It's against the grain, but how do you know? Like, you haven't even talked to your parents about not wanting to become an engineer, not wanting to become a doctor, saying,
Yeah.
I want to do something else.
Yeah. That's just hard to, like, I've never had that talk with my parents, and like kind of their like expectations and stuff, like, cause it's, to me, growing up, like, respect your elders, like, you kind of, yeah, you're right. We don't, as Asians, and I think that's a part of the culture too, you don't sit down and talk
But it
it
doesn't
out.
mean you're being disrespectful, it means you're just like improving that communication.
Yeah, but like, generally, like, it's just not in the norm, I think, or at least for my family. Like, we don't sit down and talk about our problems, and like, that's just not how we go through things. Like, it's,
That's the problem, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it should be a norm.
Yeah, but I feel like in Asian culture, like, we don't believe in fucking therapy and shit.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess that's even another thing where, like, I don't really think Asian people, I guess, like, older generations believe in mental health.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they don't think that's a real issue.
Yeah, but, and that's crazy because, like, in Japan, like, how many people fucking suicide? Yeah, because of, like, mental health. That's mental health, yeah. And, like, straight up, man. But I say we take a quick break and then we can dive deeper into mental health.
Sounds good.
All right. Hope you guys enjoyed that quick little beat. All the music on this podcast is actually produced by a good friend of mine from like 5th grade.
He's killing it, man.
Yeah, dude. His name's Rhythmatical. His Instagram name is ActTechniques. But yeah, he just had a kid actually, So congratulations, bro.
Congrats.
All right, here we go. So back to it, jumping back into it, talking about like mental health. And you were just saying how mental health
almost doesn't even exist in the Asian community.
Yeah, that's true, man. But like, I don't know that it doesn't exist. I guess we don't think about it, like think twice about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like, to an extent now, Ben Baller says something interesting as well. Obviously, I listen to a lot of Ben Baller, but because he's Asian and he's actually like very known,
mm-hmm.
right, for being Asian. So yeah, props to Ben Baller.
Yeah.
For
making way.
Yep, paving the way, dude. Exactly. So he said that kids nowadays are soft.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we went through some shit as
like
kids.
Kids as in all kids in general or Asian kids?
Like, I guess, or just society today is soft, because like, every little thing, you need some skin,
some grit.
Yeah, some grit like that. Like, you can't just let someone say something and then you feel
some type of way.
Yeah, like some type of way, like that easily.
Do you feel like it's because we're more aware of the things we're saying now, though? You know what I mean?
Yeah, in a way, but like, you still gotta have tough skin, Like, I just feel like that, and that does by no means gives the other person the right to say shit, right?
But would you say by having tough skin is almost neglecting mental health? You know what I mean? Because when your Asian parents say, like, what are you bitching about? Just have some tough skin, and like,
yeah,
that kid's gonna be like, well, shit, I guess my feelings don't matter, like, and not to say that they don't matter, and like, I agree with you, like, right, that there needs to be a balance between.
But there can be you can't let. So my thing is like, you can't let your parents say like, you ain't shit, and then just break down and then just be like, man, I ain't shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you need to be able to say, okay, they think I ain't shit. Well, fuck them. Like, well, fuck it, Like, I'm gonna go do like, I'm gonna show them. Mm-hmm. Like, we need more of that mindset, right?
I think a cop, like, in between is talk to them first. If they still say you aren't shit, fuck it.
Yeah,
go do
I
you.
Agree. Yeah, your way is right, but I'm just saying, like, for me growing up and stuff, like that's how, that's how I would take it as, and that's what I would do.
Yeah.
Right, is like, oh, I'm gonna prove you wrong versus, oh, I'm gonna break down, I'm gonna crumble. So like that's kind of how I see it. But like nowadays, I just feel like a lot of people like just break down, or like say like, they have mental health issues, and stuff. But I mean, it is a bigger issue now because like you said, I feel like you're right about that. It's because more people are aware of it. Right?
It's also to say, I think someone should be able to break down, and if you want to break down for a little bit, you break down, but you always make sure to get back up.
Yeah.
And whatever reason you broke down from, you prove that whatever reason wrong 110%, and you make sure you never feel like that again.
Yeah, true. And like I just feel like, I guess like going into it real quick, like everybody that's listening, and everyone out there, like everyone is worth something. I don't care like if you haven't done shit, which like you're
worth something.
Yeah, you're worth something. You may have not found it yet, and you are loved. You just haven't found that person yet, but you are loved. Like I know people that love everyone, and so like you just gotta find that right person, the right things to listen to,
the right group.
Yeah, the right group to kind of like hang out with and stuff. But I'm serious, man. Like everyone's life is worth, and so if you ever think you're worthless, like shit, hit me up. I'll talk to you. Like I'm serious, man. Like there's just too much of that like negativity and not enough positivity right now.
I agree.
Especially with everything going on. But that's what I'm saying. Like, and I'm not just saying like, oh, you're weak for like breaking down, but I'm saying like build that tough skin. Like don't let someone's words affect you. Like that saying goes,
like know your self-worth.
Yeah. Like sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me, like kind of have like that kind of mindset.
Yeah.
And I know easy for me to say, because like I haven't been through that or whatever. I don't have that kind of experience to like be able to say that, but
and maybe you have been through it, right? Like maybe it's just like you said, like instead of breaking down, like you just kind of repelled it and said, I'm gonna prove this person wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like some people aren't strong enough, and that's okay too. Like you said, like break down, but like don't give up.
Exactly.
That's the key. That's the
key thing. Yeah. That's the main thing.
Yeah. Don't give up.
Yeah.
But I mean, so bringing it back, being Asian, mental health being almost non-existent in our, like when we were growing up. Cause I didn't really think about like my mental health until.
So you're probably like mid-20s or something.
Yeah, no, for real. When I started my job.
Yeah.
And so you're right about that. And that's just because we were raised like not really to think like just human, but there are issues. Mental health is key,
Yeah. And I'll say this, bro, like I don't know if anyone knows this about me, maybe Leilani. But when I was in college, bro, I saw a therapist once.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Dude, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Like, like it's like I said, like if you need help, go seek the help.
I'm curious, what made you go, like what were you going through?
I think it was just anxiety of like, at that point where I was like, I was trying so hard for school,
yeah,
right? Because I wasn't in engineering, like I had to try to transfer in,
yeah.
So there was like that pressure of that pressure of like, fuck, what if I don't get in? The pressure of like, I hate this shit, So it's just like, to me, when I look back at it, right, it's just typical college stress, but cultural stress.
Yeah, but anxiety, like to the point to where you felt like you had to go see a therapist and talk about it.
And I think the reason why I went was because I'd never felt ashamed from like trying to seek that type of help. To me it was like, I'm just gonna go talk to someone, see what they have to say, and if it helps me, it helps me. If it doesn't,
at least you tried.
Yeah, at least I tried. At least I went on about my day, and at least I gave it a shot.
Yeah, dude, like, damn, man, you are a lot stronger than like you like are seen. I feel like. Just because of the way you carry yourself,
Yeah.
But, dude, everything you've been through to be able to have the kind of mindset and the kind of head on your shoulders that you have now, cause that's good, man.
Appreciate it,
I'm really proud of you, dude. For real.
Yeah, but It's a thing. I mean, like, they're not bad people to reach out to. If whoever is listening to this, if you feel like you need it, like, don't be afraid to.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I've known people who. I actually know people now who are like talking to a therapist,
Mm-hmm.
and then I've known people at work who, like, cause work has that kind of benefit, right? And so like they called like the hotline and spoke to someone about it, but like it's.
I think it's kind of interesting. Like now, a point brings up to me where it's like, where I think the reason why I went was because it was free and it was right on campus. I was like, why not? But I guess now, when we look back to like, why is mental health not a real thing in Asian, I guess like the Asian community? Like maybe it's not as accessible, right? Like you don't hear many Asian people talking about like therapists, so maybe that leads into like.
I mean, it's not even that. It's just like talking to each other, like you don't talk.
That's the main.
Yeah.
The main fundamental reason.
Yeah, like you never be like, oh, I'm gonna sit down and talk to my parents and tell them why I don't want to do this. Like, because we're always in fear of like, they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like this isn't up for discussion type, and that's how I felt anyways in my family. I don't know, it may be different for other people, but yeah, like I just never like knew how to talk about like my emotions and stuff until I started working. Because my very first job, dude, I had like this not manager, but like a sort of like a team lead. She's called, in our world, the tech world, it's called like a scrum master as part of the agile process. So she was a scrum master, and shout out to Kim. She is fucking awesome, an awesome human being. But this was like group therapy every 2 weeks, because we had to do this session where like we would go and kind of meet together as a team, and it was like a full day of like planning and talk, and then we would have like a 2 hour, it's called a retrospective, right? So you look back to like the past 2 weeks worth of work that you did, and then you talk about like what worked, what didn't work, what went well, what didn't go well, things to try, and then like we just kind of talked, so it's like, and we sat in like a circle, and there's like about 10 people on the team, and like we faced a lot of conflict in it. There was like, but it was all like, and anytime, like the nice thing was she was like a mediator, so she would like help us kind of put into words our issues in a way where we're not like attacking people, of like talking it out,
like actually communicating, actually
and then,
talking to one another.
Yeah, and then like let's say like we had an idea, like we didn't like something, and someone else like, we're like, well, what, we do it this way because of that, So instead of like arguing about it, like she would have it was called healthy debates, and like, dude, that's golden, man. Like just having the understanding to be able to communicate like that is powerful.
Yeah.
And even now, like back then, like I was in college, like having like friends and stuff, like arguing into like like I'd get pissed off at people.
Yeah.
Like same thing with having a girlfriend, like
you argue, it's very tunnel vision.
Yeah, but then now like I take a step back, I listen, and then I try to like take it in and see
resonate, see the other,
and then because there's no point of like two people yelling at the top of each other, trying to be louder than the other one, because then it just ends off like you pissed off at the other person, nothing works out, like, but like you listening, and then you're like, okay, so they think of it this way because of that. Okay, so now you see it from their side, then you can like put into words how you felt. Even let's say what they said, they're still wrong. Like you still think they're wrong, but you don't gotta be like, oh, you're wrong. Yeah, you're wrong. Like shut the fuck up, like, whatever. Instead, you're like, okay, so all right, you say this, right? But this is why this happened, or like this is why I feel this way, and then like talking like that, and it's not like you're not directly like pointing it at them or like blaming them or anything like that. You're just saying this is why you see it like that. Yeah. But it's just effective communication, man.
That's key, man.
It's world changing. Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, I feel like with your Kim, like that sounds like even almost a form of therapy, right? Like volunteer or just through work, or like
no, that's what I said. It was like group therapy, straight up. Like that was my first, I guess, experience. I would say I would call her my therapist. Yeah. And I had issues, like talk to her about it. But yeah, having someone like that, man, that helps a lot.
Elevates. I mean, like even like this podcast now, like
No, dude, this is
might be like a form of therapy too. It
really is, dude. And like just being able to talk like this, like I don't talk about all these things outside as deep as I do in here, and that's why I'm glad we started this. Yeah. But bringing it back, you know, to being Asian, like that's kind of why I wanted to do this too, is like Asians are not very outspoken, you know, like coming back to it, it's like always fly under the radar,
Be very quiet.
Yeah, like I want to break that, you know, and then I want to create a ripple effect, like
you want to also pave the way, kind of like how Ben Baller, I feel like, did pave the way for a lot of Asian people.
Yeah, agreed. And I do it for people like our age or younger, right? Because maybe it's more relatable, you know, who knows? But if anything, it's helping me out by talking to you about these things, and I hope it helps other people too, you know?
Yeah.
And if not, it's okay. Like I'm not like, that's not my goal. My main goal.
It's one of the goals,
yes,
but
not my main goal. So I hope the people listening are like, will
take something from this, you know, want to see some change if you have those negative feelings, you know, like,
yeah, but like, or like just like speaking up or like doing something that's like helping out the cause, you know, helping someone out. Like for example, like the other day, I tweeted something, because there's this guy that I know, his name's Peter, and sorry for calling you out, Peter, but like he's always like sending out positive vibes every fucking day.
Maybe we'll bleep that.
Yeah. Anyway, so like he's always sending out positive vibes I mean, it's a good thing, so I don't think he minds. But he's always sending positive vibes every day on like fucking Twitter, and I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm gonna thank him for that. You know, I'm like, shout out to him, gave him a shout out, you know, and like thanked him for it, you know, because like I read that every day and I'm like, it makes me smile, you know, and like I just feel like just like little things like that you can do. You know, you don't have to be like, oh, go step on stage and fucking, you know, like say like, you know, say your
like
opinions,
be super opinionated out there, like
you don't have Donald to Trump, be that, but know? Like little things like that, like, because normally Asians, like, it's you stay quiet, like, but like if you speak up, you don't know, it goes a long way, you know. And so yeah, man, I guess like real quick, like to wrap this up, dude, like what do you feel like as far as like, and having it related to being Asian and like a part of your life, like what has impacted you most in your life about being Asian? Like, was there a moment in your life, or like, you know, like whether it be like an experience that you went through, or like just the culture, the cultural like expectations and stuff?
I think for me, at least the most impactful event or situation or whatever I had about being in regards to like Asian American that impacted or influenced me or whatever, I'd probably say going back to Vietnam, and specifically like going to like the neighborhood or like the exact like a little corner street where my mom lived. You know, like maybe it was a little different because of like what I had to go through, but I just feel like seeing it and seeing like, you know, just like it's so different from here, you know, and it just makes me think like, damn, this is where you came from, you know, like you hear stories, you see pictures, you see videos, and you know, you can only imagine, but once you're over there, it's just so different. Experiencing it, seeing it, I don't know, like it's almost like a culture shock in an amazing way. You know, like it just puts things on a whole nother level of perspective. So I'd probably say that for me. Okay. Being able to go back to Vietnam. I wish I was able to visit like where our dads grew up, but that was all the way up north. You know?
Yeah, understood.
Yeah.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah, like I feel like you just don't know until you're like really in it, you know, to see all that. And even then you still don't really truly know, but it gives you a better understanding. For sure.
What about you?
For me, it'd have to be, I think, my parents' like work ethic, dude. Like, cause as far as being Asian, like they were always like, just work hard. Yeah, to them it's just work hard. Like I feel like that's like an Asian thing. Like it's always like it's just work hard and hustle. Because thinking about it, like as kids they had to go out and sell things, you know. And then getting over here, getting a job, like they were working like 2-3 jobs, you know, like just trying to like make ends meet and then save. And so like just seeing him go through all that, I think that has shaped me a lot of who I am today. Because like I'm like nonstop, you know. I try to be, you know, in the most sense. And
you try to be them, but almost like a better version of like what you want to do.
But man, I would never be. I don't think I would ever be as
great or
as my parents do because of just their situation and stuff. You know, like I heard their stories how they got over here, and for them to be able to persevere through all that, you know, it's surreal to me. Like I just can't imagine. Like what would I do? You know, and like so just understanding that has given me a really like great kind of respect for them and just being very, very grateful.
Yeah. That's clearly echoed through your work ethic, what you pursue.
Yeah. I owe it all to my parents, man. Like I tell my mom and dad whenever I get the chance that it's because of you guys, you know, that I am the way I am today. And so, yeah, dude, like that's because for me, like I did see what they've been through because they took me back to Vietnam as soon as I was born, basically. Yeah. You know, and every summer after that until I was about 12. So I saw a lot of that shit.
But it's pretty different when you go as like a 20-year-old, bro. Like,
yeah. I mean, so I've never been to Vietnam like after that.
Yeah.
But I've been to like third world countries, you know, and seeing that stuff. And yeah, it is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you're right about that. But yeah, man, that's what I take from it.
Shit, I thought that was a pretty good episode, man.
Yeah. That was pretty deep. We got into some deep things. And that's a wrap. Hope you guys enjoyed that episode. Hopefully you can relate. We just felt like it's super important figuring out how you grew up back in the day because it plays a huge role into who you are today, especially your race, for us anyways. Thanks for listening. Tune in next time.